Hello everybody, welcome to episode 14 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I am Andrea Mengucci from Italy, and join me on the line we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
This is the week of the pre-release. Brothers War is near the corner, and it's incredibly exciting because the weekend after we have the regional championship in Bulgaria, Sofia, whereas Anthony will have the regional championship the week after in Sydney. Mm-hmm. I am super excited. I can't remember last time I wanted a set. I wanted to practice with a new set this much because of an important tournament. What about you guys? Are you also excited about Brothers War?
Yeah, I'm excited to try new cards, even though to me personally it's a big miss that we don't have a limited, because I remember quite fondly the times where limited formats were new for tournaments. So I would prefer it that way, but even if it doesn't have limited, it's pretty cool to to see how the new cards perform and just trying the new cards last minute, knowing like no one had the time to try them before. That's pretty exciting for me, at least.
Yeah, I guess Brothers War. It's a set with two brothers. That's how I feel about it. So.
Okay. Outside of that, I also join the feeling of Javier. I would have loved if we had limited, because we are actually practicing paper. We gather 1 week ahead with a lot of people, so we naturally would have had a nice little advantage there. But outside of that, just high level limited tournament is something that was very fun of past competitive events, and I guess I haven't really seen or played any limited for the past 2 or 3 sets. All I've done was the pre-release, and I think both I don't know if you guys drafted at all this last sets, but I can't really remember last time I drafted, and that is something that I miss about competitive Magic, just that it was making me draft. But I obviously love what I do. I love competitive formats. Pioneer in this case would be in Sofia, but here we are talking about other formats. Today we'll be talking about Modern, Legacy, Standard, and of course the people formats.
Alchemy.
Pauper.
Oh.
No, it's Pauper. I just returned from a very nice weekend in Rome where I competed in the Paupergeddon. And if you've seen on the social medias, I've posted about it a lot. It had 406 players.
Wow.
That's it.
406 paupers.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Like compared to the people we're having on like these new GPs or whatever, like it's double as the GP in Warsaw or whatever. I mean, not GP, the qualifiers, whatever they're called. I think it's pretty good. I'm actually jealous. Like, you got to play a tournament. I would have liked to play something like this around here. Unfortunately, we don't, but I would have loved to play a 400-player tournament in Barcelona on Pauper. I know Anthony's not, but I am jealous for that.
Thankfully for you, Thalai, you'll be playing in the 400-people tournament soon in Bologna at Four Seasons, because we'll have in the weekend of 2-4 December, Friday, Team Trios, Saturday we got Modern, and Sunday we got Legacy.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Legacy all the days. I think though I will play full Legacy weekend.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true though, because on Saturday we have the European Legacy Masters. Both me and you have been invited to that, so there's gonna be a very high level tournament on Saturday.
I'm actually quite excited for that tournament. I think it's gonna be good. I love tournaments that are like small fields where you can actually try to metagame or whatever. And I'm quite excited. And maybe we can play the finals and bring the trophy to the Carnies.
Yeah, did you see the prize? It's quite cool. It's a free event, and they have sponsors, so there's prize in there, and also a playset of 10. Dual lens proxied by one of the artists. It's nice. It's definitely nice. Competing in a free event with 500 euro in prize is cool.
Yeah, no, I didn't see the prices exactly, but I'm excited because I know the players there would actually try, because it's the tournament is important for the Legacy community, so they will try, and that makes it super appealing to me. Knowing that the players are going to be trying their best to win it. And yeah, let's see. First Pioneer, then Legacy though. Like my mind goes to Legacy, but I have to stick to Pioneer so far.
For sure. Hey, so yeah, speaking of wanting to win, this weekend at the Pauper Get-In, I definitely wanted to win at my deck, the Blue White Coggates. I've been playing it a lot, and I felt great with the deck. I started 5-0, then picked up a draw. Unfortunately, I played against one of the typical Pauper experience. Anthony, I'm sure you love it. My opponent executed an infinite combo, which let him gain infinite life, but then he just passed the turn. And I proceeded by killing one of their creatures, and then his deck just didn't do anything afterwards. I couldn't kill him because he had 70 billion life. That's the life he declared. And then like 10 minutes later, it was a draw. How do you feel about this gameplay, Anthony?
I would say it doesn't sound like it's a draw to the format.
It is not very exciting. So yeah, afterwards I picked up a loss, so it was a 5-1-1, and unfortunately the tournament had so many people that I couldn't come in. So I went at the end 6-1, good for top 32, good for 50 years of store credit, which I believe is pretty good considering that the entry fee was just €20. So it's definitely possible to organize tournaments with just €20 of entry fee while still getting a very, very good price support and just great location, great judges. It was just a very good weekend, and I was very happy to be there.
Yeah, like what you say here, and what I see, like when I go to the Four Seasons and what I hear, you guys actually run tournaments pretty well. And because they run pretty well, people go to them, so they get more people, so they can make better tournaments. Then that's a very good, it's a good circle. I think it's the opposite that it happened to the other European circuit or whatever, where they kept having like less people every tournament because they were less happy. Feels to me like this goes the other way around, because I don't know, some years ago, these four-season tournaments were like way smaller. And since they can, like also Papageddon has been around for a while, right? I'm pretty sure it's been there for a lot of years. So they keep being better and they keep having more people. I think that's a very good, I don't know the details, but they are very good at running events for sure, because they keep having like a success, and you know, people like you or whatever, they go to the tournaments and they have a good experience, and that's just awesome. So good for the Italian tournaments for sure.
Yeah, I believe first prize was something like €1,300 in store credit at the Galactus, which is one of the bigger stores. So they certainly have everything, which is pretty crazy for, again, a €20 entry fee. Like, you know, in Bologna was 100, in at ACG Dallas was 85. Like, you know, all these things matter when you have to think about wanting to go to a tournament.
What would a Pauper player do with prize money anyway? They don't need the money to buy cards, so I don't know what the point of giving them so much prize money is, if you ask me. So, you know, only need like $40 to buy a deck or whatever.
Maybe they want to buy an alchemy deck, Anthony. How you feel about that?
Oh, then maybe you do need $1,000. Fair enough.
You don't know many players add foils. My opponents almost all had foils in their deck. They were in fact pretty surprised that I was just playing with every basic version of cards, just Eternal Master Counterspell and stuff like that.
Honestly, so was I though. When Mengu showed us the deck, me and Sam were like, "What? Why, Mengu?" Yeah, I mean, we were suspicious.
I wanted to just carry around the deck without perfect sleeves in one of those like small deck boxes, just not really care that much if my, you know, like my bag got lost or things like that. I wanted to have that feeling for just one tournament to be able to quickly shuffle a deck and just again like having that pressure relief of my deck having just beta dual lands or things like that.
Yeah, I mean you can do that with your regular cards. It's fine. It's all good. Don't have to worry about it too much.
I have an actual question. Did you feel like you were shuffling like a limited deck or whatever? Like playing with perfect sleeves for so long, suddenly playing without the perfect sleeves, did it feel weird to you? Because I had that experience.
Yeah, definitely weird. I was playing with new sleeves, without perfect sleeves. It was strange, but I guess whenever I play Pauper, it's always like that. So I'm a little bit used to it. But anyway, enough talk about Pauper. What have you done this weekend? Did you play any showcase, Javier?
Yeah, I played the standard one, and I also played the legacy one. Played the standard, and it didn't go. I mean, actually went reasonable. Like a lot, I think it went X2 or something. But we will talk about the standard later because there's a lot I want to unpack about the format. And I also played Legacy with Baku Delver, and it didn't go very well for me. Like the changes were very medium. I lost games, like I lost a mirror match against Mental Misstep where I landed my counterbalance in turn 2 against his turn 1 Delver. And I pretty much feel like I lost because counterbalance was not a Delver. Like it was very bad for me. So I think there's a lot to also work in that version. I did like the Minsk mode out of the sideboard. I think it's reasonable. But I just like didn't feel that the configuration was exactly there yet. But I like the direction, and playing Legacy is always good for me. Like whenever I don't play Legacy for some weeks and then I just go play Showcase or like a challenge, it's like, hey, this is cool. I like it. So yeah, that's what I want. That's what I did.
I have the same experience where we practice Pioneer in the afternoon, and then in the morning I stream Modern. I was like, so relieving.
Yeah, everything is better than Pioneer, huh? Except Alchemy for you, I guess. But
it's okay. It's okay. What about you, Anthony? Did you have any event this weekend?
Yeah, I played a standard RCQ. It was fine. I was actually I lost in the top 8 to Paul Jackson again, who I lost to in the previous week, but it wasn't too bad. Like because I actually feel like the whole day I was getting extremely unlucky, so I was quite happy to actually get away with the top 8 there. So yeah, I mean, like if I play all the events, so. If you play, a tournament every single week, then at some point you're going to hit the low end. So yeah, that's going to happen. That's all good.
So no more Nyctoses, right? What's the new promo for top 8?
No more Nyctos.
It's a truly wonderful one. It's Selfless Spirit, which is it's not quite as exciting as Nyctos. So.
What? Isn't that like €2? How much is it?
Yep. That's what I mean by less exciting.
No way. They replaced a €25 card with a €2 card?
Yeah. I mean, it has cool art, I guess. Like, it has a cool art treatment, but, yeah, that's, it's not quite as exciting, but it's okay. I mean, I play all the tournaments anyway. I don't really care whether they give me a Nyctos or a Selfless Spirit.
I know.
Which, to be fair, might be why they give me Selfless Spirit. So, I mean, if I play all of them anyway,
it also doesn't give mana.
Nyctos?
Giving mana is a good property that the houses do not have, but Nyctos has. So
it's true.
Yeah. But there was free price support from WotC to the stores
That's
to
true,
make their
but
tournaments more appealing.
I honestly think that part of it is that they want to figure out how big a factor various things are in terms of attendance. So, I mean, obviously there are multiple factors, but they can control for them as well. So format is going to affect popularity. But for example, if attendance goes down a lot when they have a low value promo, then they'll know that attendance is tied to promo value. And if it doesn't really go down, then maybe they can figure out that, they don't need to make very appealing promos for people to be continually excited about this level of competitive play. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm merely speculating as to possible reasons why they would change the promo in that way. But I'm sure there's a reason, because I don't think they're just throwing darts. I think there's probably a reason that we're not privy to. We don't have that information or the same data. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes. And the season after that has some nice promos as well. So it's all good. I'm not too bothered about.
What is afterward?
It's Mystical Dispute and Thing in the Ice. So they're pretty cool. Yeah, it's a very cool looking thing in the ice. Yeah,
interesting. Well, I think we have talked about a little bit of what we did last weekend. Mm-hmm. This weekend is going to be just a little bit warm up before leaving. When's your flight on Monday, Javier?
No, I actually fly on Friday. I've been tricked to fly on Friday, so I will be there 2 days before. And exactly why?
Oh, wow.
I don't actually know why, but because the Spaniards are going there, so I'm just going with them just to make sure they keep testing,
the Taskmaster himself. All right.
Are you going to the pre-release on Friday in Sofia?
I hope not. I don't think we're going. If absolutely everyone goes, I might go, but I ideally would rather just go gastronomic tourism, go to the best restaurants or whatever that we can afford, and just test Pioneer and just chill, play Magic but chill. But I don't think I want to play like a tournament or whatever.
Yeah, for me, I can't even play the pre-release on the Saturday because we have an RCQ on that day, so I will still be playing.
Gotta farm the Self Spirits. Huh?
Just ignoring the new cards, yeah.
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 Well, yeah, because they won't be available.
They won't be legal, yeah.
Like, they won't be legal.
Yeah, and the tournament is literally next to a pre-release, so it'll be quite funny. But hopefully that goes well. Yeah.
And that's going to be standard?
Pioneer,
okay. Yep. All right, let's begin talking a little bit about Modern, where we had, of course, a couple of challenges. Unfortunately, Magic Online doesn't... Like, the deck lists are kind of weird these days. They only post deck list after the standings. So if you want to see exactly how they're ranked, I suggest you to follow Farshoes on Twitter. That's how we are looking at them. And the one on Saturday was won by Mono Green Tron. And the other finalist is another Tron player, but is a Prison Tron. So it's a colorless deck that plays for Mystic Forge and often just locks people out with Ensnaring Bridge and Karn the Great Creator.
All right, this is the moment where I have to interrupt you and ask about, what happened, Mengu, because Tron was a very bad luck deck, they said. So what's going on now? Why?
Yeah, on Monday I actually streamed with Tron. I had a very easy and flawless 4-1. Great deck.
How can you say it's flawless if you went... flawless 5-0 is a phrase that makes sense. Flawless 4-1 doesn't sound like that. There was clearly a flaw. You lost a match. So
I think for Tron, a 4-1, it's like as good as a 5-0.
It's like a Tron trophy, then? We can call for one Tron trophy. Okay, Tron trophy.
A trophy, yeah.
Now on, I will consider them Tron trophies. Thank you, Mengu, for your wisdom as always.
So why did Tron do well then? You didn't answer that question.
Tron did well because, once in a while some Tron player has to get lucky, and in this case it was Fatto Catto who won the event.
Oh. There's two of them though.
Does that mean something in Italian?
Yeah, no, but the Prison Tron, nicknamed Gigi Buffon, very famous Italian, how do you say, doorkeeper?
Goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper?
Oh,
Portero.
Okay.
Very famous goalkeeper. I think this is a little bit more skill deck. Like you can easily win without Tron. Just play one land at a time. Play Chalice of the Void.
This Prison Tron deck.
Yeah, Prison Tron.
So when I see that deck, all I can think of is something that Li Shitian said about Eldrazi Tron decks in general, which is that there are 5 colors in Magic that can all individually do such powerful things, and you choose to play none of them. So.
Although there are 2 basic islands in this list.
True. Well, it's a mono blue Tron then.
It's mono blue Tron basically. Yeah, no, therefore Boseiju, because Boseiju you can't pick up basic waste. You have to put actually islands in your deck.
Okay, is island the best one? Like, is there a reason to have a different one?
Yeah, because you play 4 Spellskite.
Oh, okay, great.
To protect the prison elements. The deck is actually... I think with Mengu, it looks like it might do something great. Also, the breach is a very good position right now. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that the Ensnaring Breach is actually a very good card right now. And playing Karn means you play 4 or 7 copies in case of the prison, because 4 cards, 3 breaches is 7 copies of a card that sheds down. At least the creativity decks, but also other decks like Rhinos or whatever, they have to deal with the breach to win the game.
It doesn't really deal with creativity, does it? Because they can just kill the bridge, right?
I disagree right now. I think bridge is... with Leyline Binding, this permanents lose a lot of power, in my opinion.
Not against Khan, though, because they can just get it back.
Again and again.
Yeah, but how you usually put a lot of board state, even Rhinos, just put a lot of things into play and then just draws 1 Leyline Binding, kills the bridge attack. But obviously if you have 2 or Spellskite, things like that, you can win. You also have Chalice on 0, so in this case, this deck probably has a good matchup against Rhinos. I think it's just an event, a modern challenge. You don't demand an answer, too much into it.
I think the breach and this kind of cards, Chalice of the Void, they demand an answer. If you play breach, they have to spend the creativity there, or they have to Like they have to kill the like the breach with the binding. They have to spend a very good card that they might have to use elsewhere. Or you have a spell guide in case of the prison. I think the prison one might actually be well positioned somehow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember when I covered the event in Malmo, Oscar Krinsjesen, a very good Danish player, won the event with this deck. And Anthony, I have a ruling question. If you have never bridge and Spellskite in play, and I go creativity on like my dwarf, your Spellskite, your bridge, you can't redirect, right?
That's correct. It's the same as Colligan's command, if you remember that old interaction. If it's
Exactly.
already the target, you can't change a target to it. So.
Okay. So yeah, you would kill the bridge and the Spellskite.
Sorry, but not Colligan's command, Electrolyte. What am I saying? That's literally the opposite thing. I flopped there, but yeah. Yeah, if it's already targeted, you can't change. Like you can't target the same thing twice, right? So Spellskite can't do that.
Doesn't it work also with Colligan's command? Like you can Colligan's command dealing 2 damage to the Spellskite and shatter somewhere else, so they cannot do it. Is that correct?
I'm sure they can still redirect that because it's a separate effect.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you can damage and discard the same player, right? So why can't you do it with a permanent?
No, I mean because Spellskite will already be a target of that spell. That's what matters.
Yeah, I think it's it matters about the effects, not the spell.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
If we're wrong, I'm sure that
Tron,
someone will correct us. So
yeah,
yeah.
We of course have to talk about the 2 new cards that will probably feature in this deck sideboard. One of them is the Stone Brain. It's a legendary artifact, costs 2 mana. You pay 2 mana, you tap it, and then you choose a card and you exile all the copies and they drive that in, basically like a necromancy on a stick. And this is a card that Karndaka Creator decks now have access to in order to shut off decks that win with 1 card, for example, Living End or just Archon of Cruelty, decks like that. What do you guys think about the Stone Brain? Is it gonna see play in this deck sideboard?
Yeah.
The first thing I want to say about the Stone Brain, first, like just before we actually start talking about it, I think this is literally like the worst card name I've ever seen, because first of all, it's very easy to confuse with Brainstone, which I've already done a couple of times, I think. And the other thing is that it also sounds almost exactly like Stone Rain, and I almost accidentally bought a Stone Rain earlier today because I asked for a Stone Brain, and they just thought I was asking for a Stone Rain. I don't know. I hate the name of this card. The card text, haven't thought that much about it. I was already turned off after the first line at the top. But yeah, Javier, you can go ahead.
So you are our etymological expert, and I'm the card expert?
No, yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Everyone has a role here. Yeah.
Has a job,
So the Stone Brain, I think it's a very good card. It's a card. It's here to stay along with Karn. It shuts down like whole decks, but also you can use it like twice. Like you play as control, you can exile the first condition and then the other one, right? Like the card just adds another angle to Karn, which was already a great card. But Karn was weak when they were attacking this stack. Mostly, Karn was really good against the battlefield because of Breach. But now with Stone Brain, you can also interact better with the stack. Because cards like, the Twin Sphere or whatever, they're sometimes lacking. And this one, I think, does make a difference. And I will expect it to be played at least in the Prison one. And I will guess probably in Tron, because this kind of decks that rely on 1 card tend to be good against Tron. Like you can also name like Valakut, right? So it's you can save the day in many situations, and the fact that you can cast it again and again, I think it just the top. What makes the card even better.
Yeah, let me explain why you can cast it again and again, because the Stone Brain says pay 2 mana, tap, exile it. And Karn can pick up not only from the sideboard, but also from the exile zone. So that's why Javier says again and again.
Yeah, it's funny because they clearly put the Stone Brain as an exile card, so you cannot record it and play it again and again. And ironically, that's what lets Karn use it again and again. That's just like, they put this in the card so you cannot regrowth it and abuse it, and Karn actually does it. That's kind of... I know, the wording on card is very weird.
Maybe they want you to return it with Karn, because I think someone asked why Karn's Silex exiles itself, and I believe it's so that Karn can get it back, and that was only last set, right? So they probably had it on their mind. Maybe they do want you to get it back with Karn.
Well,
because Khan Silex is obviously designed that way. Maybe there's a story reason. I don't know anything about the story, but maybe there's a reason that Stonebrain should work with Khan or something. I think they're all part of.
Yeah, that could be. But I mean,
we need to find a lore expert.
Yeah, but usually when the cards exile themselves, it's because they don't want you to record them. Like, you know, the classic time walks, they say exile these. The cards say exile these. It's for the reason.
I think I might start assuming the opposite for artifacts from now on. I think if they say an artifact exiles itself, I think they want us to loop it.
Yeah, but otherwise you could pair this with Academy Ruins and you automatically have like infinite Necromancias. So I don't know. You can, I guess what this means is you can always record artifacts no matter what. Because if they go to the graveyard, they have Academy Ruins, which is powerful with this card, and if you don't, you have Karn. So we'll see. But I think this card is powerful
is a bit more relevant than the other one. So
I think this one is about to become instant staple with Karn. That's my opinion on the card. And I don't tend to be very high on new cards, so I guess I would say this is a strong opinion. I could be wrong, of course, but that's what I think about the Brainstone.
You mean the Stone Brain?
I don't know, Brainstone, Stone Brain. I guess I will get used to it, but I just still like the Stone Brain. I'm gonna call this Brainstone and Stone Brain like both ways. I don't know. Yeah, I hate the name as well.
As long as you don't do it on your deck list. It's all good.
Yeah, I will have to check like 10 times before every time I have to submit this card. Yeah.
All right, another artifact that will not only see play in a Karn deck, but also in an Urza Saga deck is Haywire Might. It's an insect, 1 mana, 1/1. When it dies, you gain 2 life, and then you pay a green, you sacrifice it, you exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment.
Yeah. Yep. I think this card might see some play.
That's it?
Yep, that's
all the opinion?
of my contribution.
Well, I think this card will definitely see play as a Karn bullet as well. Not as much as the Storm Rain because it requires you to have green mana, so it's not gonna be played on the Prison one. But I think this card, like whenever you have green mana, it's just so efficient. Like 2 mana is basically naturalize, and I think there's a lot of situations where you want this kind of card, even if like you're not having an infinite mana like to go off with a big spell, but you have 6 mana, you play a Karn, and you kill a permanent that's annoying you. It could be a Fable, Urza Saga, whatever. And I think that makes this very flexible. Plus, the gain life is actually something that can matter. Like, you don't have that many life gaining toolbox cards from Karn, and this one does. And I think that's why they actually... Like, this card seems to me designed to be picked with Karn or Urza Saga. So you can actually have the possibility of gaining life with this kind of effect. So I think this one will be good. I think it will be played, but I don't think it's going to be like as common as the Stone Brain. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Prison Tron deck doesn't play that many green sources.
Well, but you can play Forest into the island, you know? It's one forest, one island.
That would still be super thin. Like, how do you get the forest in there? I guess with Expedition map.
Yeah, and I don't think it belongs to the Prison one. I think this one is for the normal Tron.
But this is a Saga, so it's a shame.
Yeah, but I don't think this goes on the normal one, normal Tron, or Eldrazi Tron for that matter. But I think the Stone Brain goes in all 3 Tron instantly, in my opinion. There's no way you don't have this card so you can win games against a card like Balakut or whatever on the spot. I think it's just like too bad to miss. I just play 4 mana and win the game. Too much.
There is also another card that I think is interesting. Perection Flesh Gorger. That's the first prototype card that we're going to mention on this podcast. It's a 7 mana 7/5, but you can cast it for 1 black. It's a 3/3 if you cast it for 3, or it's a 7/5 if you cast it for 7. It has Menace, Lifelink, and Ward. That's super expensive because it's pay life equal to its power. What I can see this card in, I mean, it's probably not going to be good enough, but I can see playing this card in a black-white Ephemerate deck. Because you can cast it for 3, it's like a reasonable card, and then you can Ephemerate and you get a 7/5. But I doesn't look great, but what's your opinion on this card?
I think the card is not very good. Like, I understand this could be good with Ephemerate or whatever, but you have to pay 4 mana. So you have to play your synergy card pay for mana and have like a 7/5 lifelink with a plus. I don't think it's great. And that specifically can be good, but not great. And the issue is the front side is very bad for Eternal formats. Like 3 mana, 3/3 menace lifelink with the award. I mean, it's like flipped Brutal Cathar, with the guard pay 3 life.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed by this. I think this card is not particularly good. I guess it has some benefits, like if you can cast this for 3 and then just you get some synergies because of the 7 mana cost for other reasons, that's good. But I think on the stats by itself, it does not seem particularly well positioned for Modern. Like it also dies 2 Bolt in the front side. And, they lose 3 life, but if you're playing a engine deck, if you plan to combo with things, chances are you are not racing, which means the life doesn't matter as much. Like if you're like a pure Reanimator combo deck or whatever, and you manage to get this early for 7, well, they can simply play 7 life and Solitude it, and that's fine because you're comboing. Like you're not punishing their life total. So this will require to be like a Ragavan / disruptive deck that also happens to be able to combo, and I don't see that happening too much. I don't think this is great.
This doesn't seem great in Rakdos Camp, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, there is another prototype card, though, that I think is going to be good in Modern. It is Arcane Proxy. Same thing, it's a 7 mana 4/3, but you can cast it for its prototype cost at 1 blue for a 2/1. And when it comes into play, if you cast it, you can exile an instant or sorcery from your graveyard equal to its power or less. So you can exile a 0, 1, or 2 drop, and you can cast it. So this works great with Crashing Footfalls, or it works great with, Lightning Bolt, Expressive Iteration. I recently submitted an article on CFP Pro where I was just trying to build this 2 decks with this card. One is Blurred Murktide and one is Crashing Footfalls. Do you think this card has any potential for Modern?
I think normal cards are very hard to fit in Modern, but I think this one could actually work on Rhinos specifically. I think it's not going to shine on Living End, but I think Rhinos could use this card. I am not sure. About flashbacking cards like Iteration and the such, I mean, we already have a Snapcaster Mage in the format. I'm not even sure this is better than a Snapcaster Mage because, like, Snapcaster is most flexible, has flash, it plays better with Lightning Bolt, it plays better with counter spells, and I think the comparison with Snapcaster is not very good for this card. And as we know, it's not like a Snapcaster is nowadays exactly a staple of the format, so I will say no. But Cascade interactions are, they're powerful. Maybe the card to pair this card with is the Red Cascade one. I don't know the name. Yeah, Tomorrow. This might work with that because, like you cast it from your hand and then you just use it again. I don't know. I don't think this one is good enough, but I could see it being. I think this is much better than the black one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very low bar, but yeah. I think is the point.
Note that this says if you cast it. So if you glimpse from Tomorrow, it's not like Goblin Dark Dwellers. They're going to be able to flash back.
Yeah, but
I know.
Mana, so you might just have mana and have it in your hand. Yeah. I don't know. Like I think flashing back, Crashing Footfalls is kind of cute, but I can't really imagine that being important because you already have to have had one, right? Like you already have to have resolved the Footfalls or at least cast the Footfalls, and then this isn't that different to like playing another Cascade card. So it's kind of like a 9th Cascade card or whatever that only works if you already drew another one. Like that just doesn't sound like a good card. So maybe, but it's very dubious to me. Very dubious.
I think I'm definitely trying it in Murktide. The reason why I like it in Murktide is because, so Snapcaster Mage, saw some play, but when you target the Expressive Iteration with this card, you're gaining 1 mana. And that's a very common scenario, as in gaining 1 mana, it's huge with that deck because you always work with limited mana. So when you're casting an extra Expressive Iteration attached to a 2/1 body, that can also, you just flashback like Consider, Lightning Bolt, Annul Heat, and etc. That's why I like the card. I mean, again, it's hard to fit card into Modern, but, definitely something that I want to try and see if, like, in the mirror match, if I cast more Expressive Iteration than my opponent, that's usually how you win.
It might be the case, but I think this card will be lacking because it's not flexible enough. Like, that's true, it's good with iteration, but what about like when you don't have iteration, like the games where you don't do iteration right away? This card will be like super bad. Like, I think playing this card into a consider, it's just very bad. Like, it's just too bad. Also, it's sorcery speed, unlike a Snapcaster Mage. Like, then again, I'm comparing to a Snapcaster Mage, but a Snapcaster Mage is like seeing Cyril play in Blue-Red Murktide, and if they ever counterspell a 3-mana spell in a mirror match, that you're not winning the game. Like that's also very bad.
Mango, you don't have to convince us that it might be better than... You have to convince us that it's like way better than Snapcaster Mage, because Snapcaster Mage is not that close to being played. So like, this will situationally be a mana better than Snapcaster Mage, and that spot has to be so much better that it compensates for it being worse than Snapcaster Mage, which is already a card that we don't want to play in other positions. So yeah, I also think yes, Modern isn't about aggregating advantages like that, I think, anyway. So
I think that gaining 1 mana is huge, but again, we don't have to repeat ourselves with there. It's definitely a controversial card. I mean, it's not as easy as the Brainstone in the Karn deck, so I
good design,
can definitely see. Yeah,
it also has a good design. The fact that we cannot agree right away, it means it's pretty cool, you know?
It's just that whenever you have cards that can discount 1 mana from a play that, you know, wasn't good enough, but was definitely fine, like Snapcaster Mage has been playable and it's played in Legacy, maybe that's, you know, that's the part where you can, it's definitely going to be tried out, and Murktide is not really a deck that has free slots, but could be.
It could be.
Do you guys see any other card that has potential for Modern in this set?
I think Portal to Phyrexia is a card that could work as a Karn bullet. I don't know if that's like a thing. Yeah, it's a 9 mana. Yeah, 9 mana comes into play to sacrifice 3 creatures. You know, 9 mana is a lot, but for some situations, it's a card that might work. Also, Tron plays Ugin, right? So it's 8 mana, this is 9. Like, I don't know if this is something good, but
those are colorless, yeah.
Yeah, it's colorless. It's an artifact that can be brought by Karn, and I guess this card can get you out of some weird situations. I don't know if
I could see it.
It's really good, but I think this card could potentially be something. You know,
I mean, every single weird artifact is on the table because of Karn the Great Creator. So
exactly,
yeah, can't any out.
What about Cityscape Leveler, the 8 mana 8/8 trample that is like a Goblin Meteor, but also triggers when you attack?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's the same thing, really, isn't it? Like, it's very similar to Portal, though it's like situationally useful, so maybe it's good because of Karn the Great Creator. But yeah, I mean, could be playable.
Yeah, I think that's playable for Pioneer or whatever, but like, I don't think this is good enough to be played in Modern. I think the bar for this kind of card in Modern is like too high, I will say.
Yeah, you don't have Tinker or easy way to pull it out from your deck. You just have to pay 8 mana.
What I'm willing to say, Mango, is that I think it will be better than Arcane Proxy. So, I think...
who knows?
Review, yeah. Yep.
You can hardcast it, though. Bam, 8 mana in Tron, turn 4. Boom.
Yeah, makes it better than Arcane Proxy.
It's a different card, though.
Next time we'll be on the podcast, which is not next week, but the one after. Some challenges will be out, and we'll see how many Arcane Proxies versus Cityscape Leveler will be in the top 8.
All right, so you Anthony says 0 proxy, I guess. How many levelers?
Also 0.
Well, that's not easy. No, that's not fun.
You have to say at least 1.
I will say 1 leveler.
1 leveler? So 1 leveler, 0 proxies? Is that what we're
Yeah, that's that. It's low stakes, but yeah.
Do you remember
playing it safe?
Do you remember when Voda and X-Catcher came out and Javier started pushing Merfolk and we were just joking about it, and now Merfolk just keeps showing up to every top 8 challenges. I play against it a lot in my leagues. And
another top 8 this weekend for Merfolk, by the way. You know, speaking of the Merfolk, they put another weekend, another top 8. You know, you made fun at the beginning of the podcast, but I mean the first episodes, but they're still here and they're still, in my opinion, a very good deck.
Yeah, 2 Cavern of Souls. You don't need more, apparently.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't exactly know details on that change, but I will assume it has to deal with, I don't know, like subtlety. I will one day learn how to say this card, but I don't know why you will play to Cavern Souls.
Yeah. As a Blue-Red Murktide player, I would say that whenever you lose to the Merfolks is because they have Cavern or Vial. So
It's fair enough.
if you cut it, I'll be happy about it. I'll tell you that.
There's one more thing, not all of them, only the Merfolk that did well this weekend. There's one Blue-Red Murktide that I wanted to talk about. Is Mr. Fisher, second place. He actually cut all this Per Bluff Canal, which is very surprising to me. What do you guys think about this?
It's a strange choice. I would say that Per Bluff Canal is just a very good land in this deck. You often just work on low land count, especially if you play with Blood Moon. You can just make it into play tap later, untapped anyway. Plus, I mean, Burn is a deck, and this deck is good against Burn, but if you cut the Per Bluff Canal for Fiery Islet, it's worse. So maybe they just edged against the slower deck, so Blue-White Control for Color. But, I mean, it's definitely a thing that they had their, mind.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
They tested.
It's not an easy choice, right? Like, the thing is, like, most people don't even, like, look at the mana. Like, they just don't look at the mana at all. So the fact that they made a change is quite significant. And I guess, I mean, it's also easier to tell what it's for. Like, it's like when you have to weigh out spells against each other. You know, did someone play Archmage's Charm or Blood Moon this week? There's a lot of variables. But in terms of Spy Bluff Canal and Fiery Islet, the upsides and downsides are very clean. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's not much more to say than what you suggested in terms of the trade-off that they've made. I don't know, it's interesting that you can make that trade-off. I don't know if I would make it, but I think it's valid to consider.
I was wondering something like, I mean, this player clearly thinks that 4 canals are too many. Like, the canals are, like, bad because they come to play tapped or whatever. They cannot go, like, iteration into Murktide, because that sucks, to be fair. But I was thinking, like, I mean, even if you think Canal is bad, which it might be, I have suffered a little bit of having Canals on 4th or whatever. I mean, there must be a world where you can play a number of Canals, so there's not 0 or 4, right? Like, you can also, I think we played that in Modern Phoenix, like 2018 or whatever, 19.
Yes, I believe we didn't play,
We played 2 Canals, I think, or 3, right? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we played 3, I think.
We played 3, 4, 2. We toyed a lot with the numbers because Canal is, in my opinion, one of the best lands, but I also understand, like, sometimes they're awkward in multiples and awkward in the mid-game or whatever. But even if you don't like them, which I never considered that, but it might be correct to play less than 4. It might be correct to play, like, 3 or 2. I don't think it's completely wrong or something. I think 0 is wrong, mostly because what Mengo said, like, Burn is a deck, and you don't want to draw 2 Fairy Islets the same way you don't want to draw 4 Canals, right? Like, drawing too many Islets is also, like, a bad thing. But now this deck list makes me wonder, like, what if 3 is actually the best number of Canal and just the mana base is not very well built? Because it could be. So,
yeah. I mean, the way I see it, I mean, we have to also realize that not every list that places in a challenge or similar is a final list. Like, they could just have decided, I don't like Spy Bluff Canal, I'm just going to cut all of them and then see, and then add them back over time. We don't know, right? Like, it's possible. So it's not a definitive statement. We only know that they don't like Spy Bluff Canal. We don't know.
No, we do know that, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know more than that. Yeah, we know that, but not that much more than that. So, yeah, sure.
I think one more important thing to know about this list is that this person plays 2 Fury in the sideboard. If you play 2 Fury in the sideboard, it means that you want to side them in against again, 4 color, blue, white, just all the mid-range matchups, and you want to cast them on turn 5. So that could be something like, I don't play Fury in my sideboard, so I might not want any Fiery Islet or just want a copy of it.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, playing a bunch of Fiery Islets, I mean, it's like the self-inflicted misery where you put 4 Shivan Reefs into your standard deck and then you draw multiples, and you don't even have to do that to yourself in Modern, and yet you opt into this pain, Inconceivable. But
the pain lands. Yeah. Speaking of which, Anthony, we got some pain lands into standard. Do you like this transaction over here?
No. Are we switching to standard now? Was that a segue? That wasn't intentional on my part. Yeah. Are we switching now? Is that what's happening?
It is. I felt that it was I felt that it was an assist for a nice little segue. What do you think about it?
That works.
Are we ready?
Great. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, it was beautiful. I just didn't understand that was what was happening. Okay. Yeah. So pain lands in standard, huh? Well, I got to say, I was not expecting Painlands to be very good when they were spoiled. I know there was a lot of hype about them when people knew that they were going to be reprinted in Dominaria United. And I have to say, they fell short of my expectations. I thought they wouldn't be that good, and they were worse. I have never hated any cycle of lands more in my life than these cards. So, part of that is a power level thing. I also think they're not very fun. But that aside, I think Painlands are not very good, especially because you can't put that many of them in your deck. And people being excited about the remaining ones being added doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because you can't put more duels in your deck. So this changes how you can configure your Painlands, but it doesn't really open up that many possibilities, I believe, because it shouldn't. I don't think there's any deck that would gain enough from being able to redistribute Painlands that if it had a bad mana base before that, it would have a playable one now. So I think normally when we see new duels in a standard set, they're very impactful. In this case, I think they are not.
Maybe
just to make sure our viewers know it, they reprinted Brushland, Underground River, Landra Waste, Battlefield Forge. In particular, Brushland and Underground River will also be legal in Pioneer, which they weren't legal before. That obviously changes something over there. In Standard, I know that the Grixis deck that Nathan Stewart won had a lot of Shivan Reef, so I guess now you can cut the Shivan Reef for Underground River and like rearrange some of the red lands, right?
Might be. At least now you can play like a play enough lands that do like all the lands give black, but also will make your red cards worse. So I'm not sure. That's what I will start. You know, like I will start just cutting some reefs for rivers, but you will probably have to feed the red land somewhere else, and I don't think there's anywhere. But yeah, that's the only deck I think where river might be good. But for Esper, for example, I don't think it's gonna change much. I mostly agree with Anthony, even though I think specifically in Grixis because of Invoke Despair, and for that same reason, all the invokes, they might be useful. Like Battlefield Forge was not legal before, right? And we saw at the beginning of the format this white deck splashing red. Well, this one will be better with Battlefield Forge, so there might be something. I don't think they are as bad as Anthony thinks, but that's it. Yeah. I don't think this set will have like too much of an impact. It will have an impact, of course, because every set has an impact in a standard. But I don't think this is going to be one of these like, this set completely changes the landscape or anything. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I think we're looking at something closer to like Ixalan or one of the Innistrad. I mean, the Innistrad set's more impactful, I guess. Like, I think this is I mean, we could be very wrong, of course, because with standard it's very, very hard to tell a lot of the time, but my expectations would not be to see a lot of changes, especially structural ones with the cards in this set. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not even that. It's a combination of things, right? Like the way the decks are set up now, they're quite good at adding new cards, but they're also restrictive in others. So, for example, the mana bases really restrict what you can do. And being set up to cast Raffine also means that you can't play a bunch of other cards. Same thing with Corpse Appraiser. And yeah, I think I don't know, maybe is there any card that you think might be particularly impactful in terms of changing how standard looks? Or
I mean, there are some cards, particularly Lauren of the Third Path. This one like kills Fables, for example, like just actually trades fine-ish with Fable, for example. There are some cards. Also, the commands might be standard playable. There are some cards that Teferi also, even Geeks. There's some cards that could be played. We just don't know. It's very hard to tell without playing them, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But
I sort of expect them to just fill in, like we cut like some 3-drop for a Lauren, or that Gix's command could do something like what Meathook used to do, where it catches you up against a result, like a Fable that's finished running its course, that sort of thing, but nothing that changes how the fundamentals work.
Yeah, speaking of which, so Mengu asked about my weekend playing the showcase, playing standard. You might remember from episode 12 or 11 that I played the Challenger 2, like I played Challenge, and then next day I played the 1 because I actually love the format. Mm-hmm. Like I was loving how standard was playing out. Mm-hmm. It was really fun. I recommended it here.
Of course.
And it actually became like my for fun format, playing Arena, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped to start playing Pioneer for Sofia. And I played the showcase this weekend. wow, like I did not expect the format change so much by banning one card in terms of like how much I will enjoy the games. Like the same way I found the games super interesting before, because there was this dance where all the decks snowball, but there's Massacre as a 2-off or whatever to punish the snowball. So you are ahead, you have a Fable or whatever, and you have to decide whether if you expose your cards more to the Massacre or just stay like that. So if you stay like that, you give openings for comebacks, but if you overextend, you can die to the Massacre. And I thought this kind of spots were super interesting. Like you have to decide always, in every single stage of the game, you will have to decide whether to push the accelerator and just try to be the aggressor or whatever, or just try to grind in a way where you will not break with the card. Well, I love that. I like these multi-model games or whatever, and that's just gone. Like here, now in Standard, if you have a snowball play, it's literally always correct to do so. Like there's just no way to punish you. The more snowball your hand is, the better it is. That's it. I did not like the gameplay. Like I did well. I played Esper. Anthony helped me. We pretty much played the Esper same that other players played in Worlds. But I just didn't like the games much. They were just like all the same. You use both players snowballing all the time. You make the tempo play with Make Disappear to get to land your 3-drop first, which is kind of interesting. But once someone gets the 3-drop first in the battlefield, the games are often just cut and scripted from there, because there's just not like anything you can do about losing the snowball. Even catch-up cards like Invoke Despair or whatever, they're often short at doing so. Like if you're in the draw and they resolve a winning announcement, by the time you're playing the Invoke Despair, you lost the game already.
Behind.
Yeah, like you resolve your trump card and just like super losing. Or like it just doesn't happen. Like I understand they might have banned Meathook Massacre, as I said here, for other reasons other than gameplay. But wow, like this really made the format an interesting for me. And I go like the same way I did recommend a lot the Standard, like wow, this Standard is great, whatever. I will say the opposite, like just go play Pauper, you know. That's what I will say for Standard right now. And it makes me sad because I tend to think Standard is one of the best Magic the Gathering experience instead of on gameplay. Like I think, as Anthony said before, like Standard makes you play better Magic. It makes you a better player. I don't think this is the case in this specific Standard, and that makes me sad.
Yeah,
that's my random Standard.
I have very similar thoughts, maybe a little less strong, in that I still think there's a good amount of play, especially because of, like you said, Make Disappear kind of holding things together, which is a bit weird. But I also agree that banning Meathook I think it's made the experience much worse, because I was still holding on to a lot of those feelings from the previous Standard where like the grinding is really interesting. Something else that Meathook did that was really interesting was it really, really made life total a resource in a way that we haven't seen very much. Like Shieldred exists, but you just have to kill a Shieldred, right? That's not really making your life total matter. But Meathook made it so there were more multifaceted games, I think, as well as that dance between levels of commitment from each player. So I think, yeah, I would agree that both the die roll has mattered a lot more, and that games feel a lot more hopeless. I think something that is particularly unenjoyable about Standard without Meathook is that the cards snowball, but they don't just kill you. Like in Modern, if I'm losing, I'm going to lose very fast because you hit me like 3 times with a Ragavan and, you know, then we go next. Save mental. But with these games in Standard, like you get buried by Reflection, but you're going to fight back a little bit, but not quite. And then you just lose to like all these cascading advantages over a very long time period.
Exactly.
There's just this extended hopelessness, and then because there's not a Meathook to get you back, it doesn't really work. There's an Invoke, and it gets you like 2/3 of the way, so the game extends, but you're still behind. So you just play like forever from behind, and that's, you know, there's something that means there's more play to it, but that's not the majority of games, obviously. So there will be the occasional game where the game goes super long, and with tight play, you do get back into it, right, with some good draw steps. But, you know, the other 70% of the time of those losing games, you just had, you know, a really crappy 20-minute experience or 30-minute experience. So I would say, unironically, that I think banning Meathook Massacre was a severe mistake. I think it's made Standard much less enjoyable for competitive play, certainly. I don't really know how that would be fixed, short of just unbanning it, because I also recognize they thought that Brothers War would make some changes, and perhaps it will. We'll have to wait and see. But if it doesn't, and my current projection, and perhaps your projection as well, would be that it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe should we start campaigning for the unban of a card? It's a bit weird compared to campaigning.
No, we're gonna play Pauper or Alchemy, the format for people.
Yeah,
you know?
I as Javier said, go play Pauper instead, and I fully support that.
Yeah, well, you're never gonna be able. We were a podcast about competitive Magic, and no one's ever going to qualify or play on a pro tour with Pauper. So
that's not true though.
If they could make it so Standard was as enjoyable as it could be, given that it's always going to be the premier tournament format, that would be ideal, right? So, Meathook Massacre did nothing wrong. Let's
exactly free Meathook Massacre, please. Yeah,
free Meathook Massacre. It's like that card is really the
Unfortunately for you, Anthony, Meathook Massacre was too expensive.
MTG Finance.
Yeah, just
at this point, like I am like I was like I said here, like I think that might be the trigger for the banning. But at this point, I'm like, if they have tested this, I'm sure. I mean, presumably they test games with the decks after the bans. If they test this, that must be the reason to ban the card. Like, it's a card that did not do anything for the metagame except being expensive. Like, just only made the games better and more interactive. Like, the decks are actually more dominant now than before after the banning, so it's not even like that. And that's a fair reason. I mean, but it just sucks for those who actually want to only play the format and or play Arena or whatever, where all the cards are worth the same. So I mean that's pretty much my take on Standard right now. I have hopes for the new set though. So we will see.
Yeah, in the new set, I've seen some interesting card.
Okay.
First one is of course Monastery Swiftspear. The second one is the Mishra's Foundry. That is a colorless land. You pay 2, it becomes a 2/2, and it has the assembly worker thing where you can pump another one like you would do with Mishra's Factory. Do you think that the combination of these two cards can bring like a mono red deck to Standard?
That doesn't sound very likely. Oh, okay. How about you go first?
Yeah, I think it might, because there's a lot of pain lands, tap lands, and slow lands because of what Anthony said before. Like the mana bases suck, so they have to play a lot of like tap lands and the such. And I think that will that if Mono-Red happens, it will be because of that and not because of Mono-Red being good. But there might be a deck able to punish that. I don't know if, like, I don't think Swiftspear is particularly good if you're just trying to attack with creatures, but could be.
I mean, there are some reasonable cards to support it, like the aggressive sagas like Okiba Reckoner Raid or Commander Faces Kakazan that are good with it. But I think Monastery Swiftspear as a card is just so hard to make work in Standard because you need very specific cards to make that card strong, I think. I'm not sure they're there in Standard. And I think aggressive strategies in general are very punished because all the decks like start playing on turn 2 and they have plays that are quite difficult for you. So stuff like Denic or just removal spell into Corpse Appraiser are pretty tough for aggressive decks, which is part of why even after banning Meathook, the aggressive decks just aren't well suited to fighting these grindy mid-range decks that start playing very early. So
you have the new removal spell, the new Lava Core that can also kill a Planeswalker, Obliterating Bolt.
Yeah, there's already not many
Planeswalkers.
There's not very many Planeswalkers in Standard because they're quite bad against Invoke Despair. So the only Planeswalker you tend to see is the Wandering Emperor, and sometimes a Sorin wanders by. But for the most part, Planeswalkers are not a major part of Standard. In fact, spot removal is not that good anyway. Like, if most of the cards generate value, then spot removal is not generally very strong. You have to play some because of cards like Rafine or Goblin Shaman that you simply have to kill, even though you're going to be down a lot of the time. But cards that are just dedicated removal are not great in general. So because you can't afford much of them, the competition is very stiff.
Yeah, I think if there's
they
an aggro
also
deck,
printed a new.
Sorry, go ahead. Abby.
Yeah, I think there's a aggro deck. It might be sort of like a multicolor legend type of deck, like with a legend human or whatever, because there's a few like legendary cards that are aggressive and good. But there's a 3/2 mana flying for 2, blue-white that plays well with soldiers. There's red-green 3/3 for 2.
Yeah, Hajar, the one that makes...
Yeah, Hajar, that's sacrifice itself. It gives you another legendary creatures, indestructible and +1/+0, which actually combos very well with any kind of like card that kills everything. So I don't know. Those cards are good.
Yeah,
and maybe there's a way to make the mana work with Yoda, whatever, the plus of heroes and enough lands.
Yeah, because they're both humans as well. So
they're both humans. Yeah.
Humans. Yeah.
Exactly. They're both humans, both soldiers, and there's probably a way to make this kind of deck like an aggro deck. I think that's actually more likely than a mono red Swift Spear deck, if I had to guess.
Yeah, you have some power there, right? And you get actual good mana. That's very appealing. And some ability to grind. So I could see that. I could definitely see that. Maybe that's where our hopes are. Legendaries.
Yeah. There's also a couple of sweepers. You have Gix's Command, 5 mana, destroys all creatures with power 2 or less, and a bunch of other abilities. Mm-hmm. And then you have Brother's Hand, which is a 3 damage to each creature and planeswalkers, and also destroy artifacts. But yeah, so you have some pretty good sweepers, I would say. I mean, maybe not great, like Meathook Massacre, but still more options in case those aggro deck are relevant.
We found that a lot of these sweepers weren't very good because of what we mentioned before, where the cards push you ahead. Meathook Massacre was unique because it gave you a different... it gave you some value afterward instead of simply trading. So cards like Burn Down the House weren't very good for us. But cards like Meathook, you just couldn't really replace that card because it then gave you a different angle to win the game by burning them out with Meathook. Cards that are just answers are not great. So maybe Gix's Command is the one that I do see having some potential because it does give you some value afterwards as well. After cleaning up all the announcement tokens or all the goblins. Maybe Gix's Command could be the savior. That might be the card that we are looking for. So it's the light there. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Also, Go for the Throat is an actual good removal. Go for the Throat is a very good card.
Yes, for sure.
How the format is built now, it's pretty much a Terminate so far. It might change with prototypes, but it's very close to a Terminate. And that's also maybe a reason for the removals being bad, because removals did suck. Cut Down is not a very good card. Infernal Grasp was played everywhere, but of course you cannot play too many of them. But you could play if you wanted 4 Go for the Throat in a deck. That card might impact how good cards like Seaholder are. I don't know, but I could see it happening.
Infernal Grasp also it capped with the Painlands is just like the Painlands, and they also don't work that well together. So that could be huge. But yeah, speaking of prototypes, I think that's one interaction that I actually think that's the other interaction I think might be significant. I think Phyrexian Fleshgorger linking. It's funny that Mengu mentioned this in Modern because I think this might actually be relevant for Standard. But Phyrexian Fleshgorger and Touch the Spirit Realm could be a pretty relevant interaction in Standard because Standard is a format where you can use both modes. You could definitely just cast a 7 mana threat, and a 7/5 is a lot more threatening here. You can't just kill it super easily. And paying 7 life is very rough against a deck full of creatures, Standard's always full of creatures, right? So, yeah, maybe Phyrexian Fleshgorger and Touch the Spirit Realm, or other prototype cards. The one that grows itself, the artifact, the automaton, that might be good as well, I could see. But the Fleshgorger is the one that I'm more interested in. This is a format where 3 mana 3/3 with some abilities is good, right? So, yeah.
Especially with Raffine. This is a very good Raffine card. If you can Raffine this, you make this a 4/4 or 5/5. Well, that's something. You have to pay 5 life.
Yeah.
It stacks pretty fast. Yeah, I agree a lot.
Yeah. So there are some other prototypes as well that could be relevant, but that's the most interesting one. But yeah, in general, prototype plus Touch the Spirit Realm would be a direction that I would look in. So I guess to sum that up, the ones that we like for Standard, don't care that much about Painlands. Gix's Command, maybe a good sweeper. Prototypes plus Touch the Spirit Realm. Was that everything? Did I miss one?
I mean, there's a lot of cards that could be played in Standard, like the Steel Seraph, the white prototype.
Fit into things
the white prototype also could fit into things. So 3/5 for 3, some abilities. There's a lot of these prototypes. The rare ones, they could potentially, most of them, be actually good in Standard. They're pushed enough that they can be good. Even, I don't know, the proxy probably not very good, but also playable in these blue-red decks. So everything that's a prototype rare is potentially good. And this kind of cards are new. We have played with split cards, but these ones are a little bit different, so it's very hard to validate. But yeah, all of them, the Mythic ones, certainly. Clay Champion, also very good. It's a 4/4, 4 mana, you can put it off counters.
Yeah, these are our first impressions, naturally. I think we'll get a much clearer picture after we see some results, because guessing at Standard is always really, really hard, as you can tell from all of the early guesses in Standard historically being atrocious. So, yeah, we're not. Let's be clear that we're not particularly confident or married to our opinions in this regard, and we'll quite likely change them. And also hashtag unban Meathook Massacre or whatever we have to say to get that to happen.
All right.
So yeah, that's what we think.
I think let's move for the next format, shall we? What about some legacy, Mengu?
Legacy, yes indeed, I am here. I didn't fall asleep. No, I'm joking. I love. I just really, it's fun. Like, Magic is a game where every 3 months, like, so many things happen. Not only with ban lists, but just with new cards, and it's fun to always be here, talking about all the changes. And yeah, whereas let's talk about Legacy, a format where it doesn't have... Nah, that's not true, actually. There's some changes over here, too.
Okay.
By the way, I just read that the initiative cards, White Plume Adventure and Season Dungeoneer will be added to Magic Online with the next patch update. So cool. I'm excited because I want to try the White Initiative deck, Javier. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I will explain it slowly then.
Thank you.
The 2 White Initiative cards, White Plume Adventurer, the 3-mana 3/3 that gains you the initiative, and the 4-mana 3/4 that gains you the initiative, are soon going to be on Magic Online.
But 3 mana is cheap for initiative, right? Like the mechanic was super good, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you can go Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, cast it on turn 1.
And you win the game in the process?
You basically do, yeah. No, you don't, but it's good. I was very interested in trying it in paper. Right now I can't because of, all the other things I have to do, but certainly after Sofia, I will test some White Initiative things, but now I guess I can do it on Magic Online too, which is great.
Yeah, let us know if it's broken or if it's just unplayable. I'm interested in that.
There will definitely nothing in between. It's either broken or unplayable.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Exactly. Thank you.
Speaking of broken or unplayable, Javier, a combination of cards that lets you win the game on turn 2 between a common and uncommon made the top 8 of the Legacy Showcase. It involves a turn 1 Nomads and Core and a turn 2 Cephalid Illusionist. Do you know anything about this combo?
That sounds like a broken combination to me. Tell me more. I'm interested in this deck.
Okay, so you're playing a Modern Horizons 2 staple called Step Through. Can Anthony read the text of the card for us? Because we don't know it.
I do know it.
It has Wizard
Sight. Wow, you know it?
Right?
Yeah, I do know it. Step Through is basically like a card that's unplayable for 5 mana, but for 2 mana you discard it and you search your library for a wizard. Which means if you combo card as a wizard, it's basically Uncounterable Demonic Tutor, instant speed that also pitches to Force of Will. And that's the Modern Horizons card for the Legacy Breakfast, which topped this showcase. So there's 2 versions of the Legacy Breakfast. It is the slow version with Jorian and pretty much a Death and Taxes shell, and the fast version, the one with 4 days for Force of Will and use the combo. It's funny because they kind of have opposite matchups. Like the slow version with Jorian or whatever, it's actually the Legacy deck I think I've been better against Delver like in my life. Like, it's just very good against Delver. But it just loses everyone else. It's very weak against the rest of the deck. And ironically, this fast version is completely swapped. Like, it loses to Delver, but it's very good against combo decks, against lands, and decks like that, where the other version completely folds. That's because this one is built similarly to our Animator deck. Like, the matchups go similarly. You know the all blue-black Animator decks? This is similar. And the other one is pretty much Death and Taxes. Like, it's very similar in the matchups as well. It just beats the mirror, but it plays similarly. So this deck is just designed to try to win on turn 2 or 3 with a combo, with a counter backup, and doesn't have much else. It has 1 color complete to go with Stormforge Mystic as a, last resort or whatever, but it's just like a straight combo deck. And I haven't played this much lately with this fast version. I know I gave it up because I was losing too much to Delver. But if Delver is not played enough, well, this is very good. Like, this will slice through a field of like green decks or whatever, as almost no other deck will. So I'm obviously also happy that Cephalid, made top 8 because it's a congratulations FGC for from the Cephalid University for this top 8.
All right. The tournament was won by Lands. Again, the Legacy Showcase is a very big event. How many rounds was it? 9?
9 or 10. I think it was 280 players, 300 players. So that's 9.
Okay,
right?
that's 9.
Yeah,
that's 9. Yeah, the 10th one slots at 409, which funnily enough was the cap for Paupergeddon, was 409, so that you wouldn't get a 10th round of Swiss.
Oh, that's smart. You see, they know what they're doing.
So yeah, lands it's the winner. It's a pretty straightforward version, I want to say, with endurance and just a classic Urza Saga, Left from the Loam shenanigans. Then we got some a very, very diverse, I want to say, top four. We got lands, we got Reanimator, Elves, Blue-Red Murktide, then we got Grindstone, Cephalids, and then a couple of Murktide to round it up. I want to say that nobody played Minsk and Boo in the sideboard.
Yeah, it did not.
It was only your friend Baku.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, but some counterbalance we're seeing, like Discover Nan plays two counterbalance main deck, which I did not love. Most notably, he played 2 days only. Like, I didn't like 4 days for a while. Baku also didn't like them, so we got them to 3. But Discover just playing 2 now. Are you one of these people that say days should be banned because it's too good? Because I'm pretty sure Discover will not agree. I'm not sure. 2 might be too low because I think days is great, but I understand where this is going. And it might be correct, honestly. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, 2 days is very strange. I mean, Discover and Bennu, like, these names are, you see them a lot in Magic Online. It's no surprise they play the quote-unquote best deck in the format and do well with it.
Yeah, but they also play the deck a lot, cool. Right? It's surprising to me to see some player just going as low as 2 days. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll have to try, but it's just not very good in the mirror match. Also, not that good against decks like Elves or whatever. It's good against the combo matchups, but to be fair, a lot of the combo decks are well prepared to beat the days. I guess those are the reasons, but then you play against Red Prison or whatever, and you just win games with days. So it's strange. Also not that bad in the mirror. I don't know. I might like days too much to see 2 being the correct number. But yeah, they also play...
Maybe he thinks that it's bad in the mirror.
Yeah, but it's not as bad as it was before because of iteration or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Also, there's some Maddening Hex in his sideboard, which is a card I assume they play over the Boo. But honestly, the Boo is cool. It's interesting. I want to try it more.
Yeah. One last deck to note is the Mono Red Painter that Callum Smith top 8'd on Saturday and then top 8'd again on Sunday. He's the host of a podcast that I like. It's called Everyday Eternal with some German legacy players like Kai Savatari and Julian Nab. Have you ever heard of it, Javier?
I think I heard it once, but not a lot. Yeah, I don't really listen to that podcast regularly, but I do know he's a very good expert of the Painter deck. Like, he's probably responsible for the deck being more popular nowadays. I think he went like on a huge streak of winnings for some weeks, right? And then the deck started seeing more play. Am I right?
Yeah. The Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think he's the person that hyped Fable of the Mirror Breaker the most in Legacy, and now, well, some of the reason why it's 60 ticks, it's also because it's so wide played in Legacy, other than Pioneer, Standard, Modern, and etc.
Yeah, this is a classic situation where the expert of a deck does well with it consistently, keeps doing well. Like that's very common in Legacy. We also see Bennu, which all he plays Blood Delver, and he just keeps being top 8ing like the tournaments again and again. It's these decks are very complicated to play. Like, I think Painter has a lot of tricks and a lot of complicated situations, so it's not a pick up and play deck for sure. But if you're into that kind of thing, I mean, I think I'm never happy when I play against Painter, so maybe that means it's powerful.
Yeah, it's crazy how the 3 Delver lists that made top 8 play 0, 2, and 4 Delver of Secrets.
Like, yeah, there's no consensus yet. It's strange. Like, I don't know why it happens.
It's fun.
It is, but I think it might depend on like how people play the Delvers, because some players play them very aggressively. Some players fall on the kill spell on the Delver. Others do not play it. Like, I'm one of those players, often do not play the Delver in turn 1, so you can keep it to beach to Force of Will. Like, I think it has to be something like that. Like, depending on how you play the deck, Delver is better or worse, because months they keep passing, and we're still like not sure what's better. And I'm like, there's a lot of dedicated Legacy players. They're very good. They know this deck in and out. Yet they still don't agree on the number of Delver secrets. That's wild to me, to be fair.
Yep. Are you okay to move to Pauper now, the people's format?
The format of the people. I mean, yeah. I think Anthony will prefer to talk about alchemy or MTG finance, but I think Pauper will do the trick.
If only.
Yeah.
If only.
Yeah. Tell us more.
I'll settle for Pauper.
There is a new card that I think will be see Pauper play. It's Energy Refractor. It's basically a Prophetic Prism, but worse. Prophetic Prism is banned. It's an artifact that costs 2 mana, it draws a card on ATB, and you filter mana for 2. So it's like pay 2 mana and you add mana of any color. And Prophetic Prism was banned because it was too good in Tron. This card good enough in Tron, so probably will see play. Again, Alter Tron is a deck that's capable of doing well. Yesterday, one of the players was the one that played against me, finished 10th, and another one lost a win at 7-1. He couldn't draw and lost. Energy Refractor, probably the most impactful card in Pauper. Speaking of the format right now, I want to say that Blue-White Gates overperformed. In general, the decks with the gates overperformed in Paupergeddon. 3 Blue-White Gates in the top 8, both of them in the final. By the way, one of the finalists is Francesco Bifero. He used to be, he won World Magic Cup 2015 with me, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
The other one is Chilo Monopoly. Congratulations to them, playing Blue-White Gates. And then we have 2 Boros Gates, 2 Kuldotha Rebirth red deck, and then 1 Goblins Combo, the player that defeated me in the tournament. I want to say that Kuldotha Red is a very powerful deck, one of the best burn deck we've seen around. We talked about it last time. I think it's super good. But I think the most important thing to note is the flop of Blue-Black Terror. That deck, I want to say, was kind of everywhere in the first round. Like in the first rounds, I would sit down next to me, around me. I played against 2 of them in round 2 and 3. And then just didn't top 8. I didn't see it anymore in the high table. I don't see it anymore in the top 8 of challenges. Only 1 in the 2 top 8s this weekend. Was that just a lot of hype? What do you think?
Well, I was going to ask that. Do you think it's because the deck was classic internet hype? Or do you think the deck was like hard enough that it needs more time to learn how to play properly? Because it could be both things. Because some decks take more time to master or whatever, but some of the decks do not, and they're just a bluff. Like they're just not as good as advertised or not even close to. What do you think?
Okay, I've played both decks. I want to say that Blue-White Gates is definitely a hard deck to master, and I want to say that Blue-Black Terror was the easiest deck I've played in a while.
Well, that's the answer then. Then the deck sucks, right? That means the deck was not as good.
You just have to cycle Mental Note, Thought Scour, and then just cast the 5/5s. They kill the 5/5s, and you have nothing, and you flood out because you don't really have good cantrip. I mean, sure, you can go Brainstorm and then clean the top, but I don't know. I feel like the deck wasn't good when I played it. And again, if so often you just flood out, and I think that it's not as good as it was advertised a few weeks ago, even in this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to retract from that. I mean, you almost got there in the top 8, so well done. Mango.
Yeah, and another deck that didn't feature in the top 8, although it was definitely around in the high tables, was Affinity. This is a deck that every Pauper player wants banned, but I think it's kept in check pretty well by the Kuldotha Red. Affinity still been around forever, but with the Seat of Synods. But I guess I did my part with Gorilla Shaman killing a lot of artifact lands in this past weekend, as well as Dust to Dust. I was playing 2 Gorilla Shaman, 3 Dust to Dust, and that definitely add up. And a lot of hate for this deck, which can be kept in check in the long tournaments. But other than that, I don't think there's any more high impactful card in Pauper. You have Go for the Throat, that's not Pauper legal, because it was downshifted in 40k Commander, which is pretty funny, but I don't think it matters much. And outside of that, I think Pauper now will basically... I think what happened after this weekend is that the Call Gates deck was really put out there as one of the best decks in the format, and now people will maybe play more, Molten Rain or Spreading Seas. I think if you kill the land that makes the gates, the land that pumps, that deck definitely becomes worse. Or or you can adapt like I did with the Coalition Honor Guard, which is the basically Spellskite on a body that was very good for me in the mirror. I, in fact, won easily the mirror thanks to it. So I think the format will evolve with the Coggates being the tier 1 paired with Cool Dota Red. And yeah, that's I think what the format is moving forward. I think we are done. What do you guys think? Do you have anything else to add to this episode?
I think we're good.
Can't think of anything.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we talk a little bit about the cards. Like, of course, we didn't go very deep on the new cards, but ideally, next podcast, which should be, I think, in 2 weeks, we will talk about how the new cards are performing. But I think we did touch everything we wanted to. And see you in the finals of the Sophie tournament, Mengu. Me and
Javier will go in a week in Bulgaria to practice Pioneer, so that'll be exciting.
Physically
Anthony
meet.
will. Where do you go when do you go to Sydney? Some days before, or just fly for the tournament, Anthony?
Basically, I mean, why would I go earlier? Do you think I have sights to see in Sydney or something?
Every podcast, you get seen it every time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll go on the Thursday because I don't like to arrive and immediately play the tournament. But I won't be spending a lot of time there. So I'll leave on the Thursday and then I'll come back. But
is there a lot of jet lag?
Not really. I think it's like it's a couple of hours different, but not a lot.
It's 2 hours. Okay,
I think it's
well,
2 or
that's
3.
a lot.
That's something, yeah.
I mean, it's a big country. Yeah. Australia's a big country, so.
All right, I think we're good for today. Mm-hmm. So I think we can wrap it up. Mengu?
Sounds good.
We can wrap it up saying that if you have anything to tell us, you can tag me at Twitter at Mango09, Javier D Magic, and Anthony at Mango09.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can say MTG Bandcar for Pauper or MTG Finance questions, as usually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, if you have listened to this podcast on any of the platform, I want to let you know that this podcast is on YouTube now, on my YouTube channel, as well as on the, just Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you're finding this podcast. That's it. See you in